When Lan Wangji was tidying up the bed, he told Wei Wuxian that he had already invited a special doctor who would be coming soon. Wei Wuxian was getting dressed, and upon hearing those words, his mind instinctively thought of Wen Qing and the Wen family. But then he recalled what Lan Wangji had told him yesterday, and his gaze darkened. He looked at the face of himself in the mirror. Although clear and handsome, he felt increasingly uncomfortable looking at it. Not as good as how he used to look at all. Another figure appeared in the mirror. Lan Wangji took a comb and came over to brush his hair, gently lifting a lock of hair as he comforted him in a deep voice. "Wei Ying, you will remember." Wei Wuxian muttered, "How do you know what I'm thinking?" The comb in Lan Wangji's hand touched his hair. Wei Wuxian stared at the mirror for a while, then tilted his head back and asked the Lan Wangji behind him, "Hey, Lan Zhan, why exactly did I lose my memory?" Lan Wangji was combing his hair and said, "This body you have is a reincarnation through sacrifice." Wei Wuxian said, I know that." Lan Wangji continued, "Because it's a sacrifice, the soul and body are not entirely compatible." He paused. "Or perhaps it is due to external forces." Wei Wuxian didn't understand. Did I hit my head?" "No." Lan Wangji's gaze flickered awkwardly. "It's probably because the spiritual energies clashed, causing this effect." Lan Wangji suddenly said decisively, "My fault." Wei Wuxian was confused and about to ask Lan Wangji to explain again. Looking at the person in the mirror, he belatedly realized a problem. "Wait, Lan Zhan, what are you doing?" Lan Wangji replied, "Combing your hair." Wei Wuxian quickly stood up and said, "It's okay. I can do it myself." Lan Wangji put down his hand, but his hair did not become messy. It had been tied into a neat ponytail, much nicer than how he had casually done it himself. Not a single strand was out of place at the back. Wei Wuxian felt a bit annoyed and touched his hair, wondering why he didn't notice it was wrong from the start. Now that Lan Wangji had already finished, he couldn't just deliberately undo it in front of him and redo it. That would be disrespectful to Han Guangjun. The doctor came to examine him and repeatedly confirmed that his physical condition was fine. But as for why he lost his memory and when it might return, the doctor had no precise answer. In the end, he only prescribed some general restorative medicine. Wei Wuxian's most pressing questions were unresolved, leaving him somewhat disappointed. Lan Wangji went with the doctor to get the medicine, and Wei Wuxian wandered around the silence room, hoping that looking at these objects might trigger some memories. But no matter what he saw, he only found everything novel, as if he were seeing it for the first time. He walked over to a small table and saw Wangji's guqin placed there. He casually plucked a string, producing a melodious sound, then immediately realized, how could he touch someone else's things so casually? He quickly withdrew his hand. Before he could walk away, Lan Wangji returned, carrying a bowl of steaming medicinal soup, apparently freshly brewed. Seeing this, he asked, "Do you want to play?" Caught doing something mischievous, Wei Wuxian awkwardly responded with, Luckily, Lan Wangji didn't press the issue and said, "Come, drink the medicine." Wei Wuxian said, "Okay," and reached out to take the bowl, but Lan Wangji didn't hand it to him. Instead, he stirred the medicine with a spoon, then scooped up a spoonful and brought it to his lips, blowing on it before offering the spoon to Wei Wuxian's mouth. Wei Wuxian was still reaching out to grab the bowl, Lan Wangji. They looked at each other silently for a long moment. Wei Wuxian almost opened his mouth, but Lan Wangji put the bowl down. Wei Wuxian was stunned for an instant, then quickly grabbed the bowl and tilted his head back to drink it all in one go. Thinking he had quickly resolved the awkward moment, just as he lowered his head, he saw Lan Wangji again hand him something, a small piece of candied fruit. Wei Wuxian felt somewhat embarrassed, but didn't refuse this time. He took it and put it into his mouth. The sweet taste spread throughout his mouth, diluting the bitterness of the potion. Lan Wangji's gaze shifted to the side, looking at the Wangji qin on the table. Then, he suddenly said, "You used to ask me to teach you how to play the qin." Wei Wuxian's Adam's apple moved as he swallowed the preserved fruit, thinking incredulously, "Me? Learn the qin? I'm so good at playing the flute. Why would I bother learning the qin for no reason?" But he was still very curious about what Lan Wangji had said, so he asked, "Then how did you teach me?" Lan Wangji glanced at him, walked to the qin table, and beckoned him over, saying, "Come here." Wei Wuxian obediently went over. Lan Wangji made some space for him to sit in front of the Wangji qin, opened a music score book and pointed at a certain piece, saying, "This is what I taught you last time. Do you still remember?" Wei Wuxian's mind wandered. Lan Zhan's fingers are really beautiful. He glanced at the score, vaguely recalling that he did know how to play this piece, but definitely not from Lan Wangji. He had fiddled with it idly when he was younger. After a few tries, he found the 7-string chin quite boring and had given up learning it. He said, "Oh, I think I do." Then, following his memory, he plucked the strings a couple of times and played a short segment. "Here," Lan Wangji pointed at his right hand, "and here, it's not quite right." Wei Wuxian shrugged casually. "Really? I was just messing around anyway." His words suddenly stopped because Lan Wangji's hand abruptly covered his own. Wei Wuxian stiffened a little. Lan Wangji's hand covered his, shaped his fingers into a posture, then plucked the strings along with his hand, saying seriously, "This is how it should be played. I corrected you last time." Lan Wangji said more, but Wei Wuxian no longer paid attention. His whole mind was focused on how close they were at that moment. Lan Wangji stood behind him, leaning over. His broad white sleeves hung down, almost wrapping Wei Wuxian completely. The hand resting on his was especially warm, and the fingertips accidentally brushed his skin, tickling slightly. Wei Wuxian took a breath. His nose filled with the pleasant scent of sandalwood that nearly overwhelmed his every breath. He had always been the one to approach Lan Wangji first, going all out to get close. Now the roles were reversed. Suddenly, Wei Wuxian felt like he couldn't catch his breath. Wei Wuxian skipped lunch and slipped out of the silence room, wandering aimlessly through cloud recesses without a destination. Whether he had amnesia or not, waking up to be told that everything had turned upside down would be hard to immediately accept for anyone, even someone as carefree as Wei Wuxian. Though he showed no outward signs, still felt some resistance inside. Therefore, he didn't want to see Lan Wangji now, nor the other young men. He just wanted to walk alone, clear his mind. He wandered aimlessly, tossing something in his hand from time to time. It was the past jade token he had stolen yesterday. Wei Wuxian originally thought it belonged to Lan Wangji, but on closer look, the fluttering dragon and phoenix characters, Wei Wuxian, which was engraved on the back, was definitely his own handwriting. Wei Wuxian thought, if Lan Zhan was right, if they had been partners and living together in cloud recesses for so long, then me suddenly losing my memories. Wouldn't that be like a towering building collapsing overnight for Lan Zhan? He suddenly felt very sorry for Lan Wangji. But feeling sorry was one thing. Not being able to accept it in his heart was another. Originally, everyone kept their distance from him. Suddenly, there was someone who cared for him and protected him. This someone wasn't just anyone, but the most unlikely person, Han Guangjun. How could Wei Wuxian not feel overwhelmed by this favor?